Have you ever thought about what is actually in the air you breathe at home, at work, or in your child's kindergarten? Most of us spend around 90% of our lives indoors and inhale thousands of liters of air every day. That air should be healthy, but our buildings often tell a different story. The Non-Has City 3 project looked closely at construction materials, indoor dust and stormwater in Baltic Sea cities. PFAS, plasticizers and bisphenols can be found in indoor dust, and construction products are a likely source of these contaminants. Everyday products such as flooring, paints, furniture and toys contain harmful substances that can affect hormone function or increase cancer risk. But the problem does not end at the building door. Rain washes substances off facades, roofs and pavements and carries them through drainage systems into soil, rivers and finally the sea. What leaves a house roof today can end up in the Baltic Sea tomorrow. That is why EU countries around the Baltic Sea, including Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Germany, Denmark and Sweden, joined the EU-funded Interreg Non-Has City 3 project to tackle the sources of pollution and move towards a tox-free, circular and climate-neutral construction sector. In this video we share the main policy recommendations that grew out of the project. They target 3 levels: the European Union, national governments and municipalities. Together they show concrete steps we need to do to build constructions that are healthier for people and nature. If you want to dive deeper, check out the linked policy briefs in the slides. In this video, we now walk you through 3 examples of what needs to happen at EU, national and city level so that we can be better protected in the buildings we live, learn and work. What should happen at EU level? First, Europe needs harmonized and mandatory green public procurement criteria for construction. When all member states follow similar rules, it creates a level playing field and sends a clear signal to the market. Future building products must be tox-free, circular and climate-friendly. Second, the upcoming digital product passport is a key opportunity. It should include information on all chemicals that have an impact on health or the environment, including PFAS, biocides and other substances of concern. Third, we recommend an EU-wide building product database that covers all construction materials on the market. A good practical example already exists in Sweden. The Byggvarubedömningen system, a database that rates construction products with a simple traffic light. Designers, procurers and builders can quickly see if a product is recommended, acceptable or should be avoided. What should happen at national level? One important step is to introduce mandatory pre-deconstruction audits. Instead of demolishing buildings, materials should be identified and selectively dismantled so they can be reused or safely recycled. Denmark, for example, requires that all properties over 250 square meters are resource mapped before deconstruction. Second, countries need stringent regulations on chemical content in construction materials. Products should not contain substances of very high concern or substances of equivalent concern. Third, life cycle assessment should become mandatory for new buildings. This means looking at the climate impact and resource use across all stages of a building's life, from production to deconstruction. Finally, what about municipalities? With their own regulations, they can go beyond EU and national standards and become real front-runners in protecting people and the environment. Municipalities have a great tool to act: green public procurement, a powerful instrument to change the market and create healthy building environments. In practice, municipalities can use a step-by-step process from early planning to final verification, and at every step check whether the project still meets the 3 goals of tox-free, circular and climate-neutral construction. Second, set clear targets for building materials. For example, using the Byggvarubedömningen system, the city Västerås is Sweden defined that at least 20% of the products in a preschool should be rated as recommended and less than 5% as to be avoided. For easy implementation, rely on eco-labels to make sustainable choices simpler. Finally, create a criteria bank with standardized tender texts and requirements. This way, departments and other municipalities can reuse and adapt tested wording instead of starting from scratch. A great example of this is the Helsinki's Criteria Bank. The Non-Has City 3 project shows what it takes to build a tox-free, circular and climate-friendly construction sector. Sustainable buildings are technically possible today. Now we need the courage and clarity to set the right rules. So let's start. Let's build healthy and sustainable buildings that protect people and the nature.